So in this class I want to continue looking at this formula for the angle between two lines. If theta is the angle between two lines and theta is acute, then tan of theta is equal to the absolute value of m1 minus m2 over 1 plus m1 times m2, where m1 and m2 are the slopes of the two lines. So here's a question. It says one line we're given tx minus y minus 3 is equal to 0. Notice in standard form. And the second line, k, has the equation x minus 2y minus 1 is equal to 0. And they're the equations of two lines. And we're given that L intersects k at an angle of 45 degrees. We want to find the two possible values for t. T is the coefficient here of x in the first line. So if we take this line, tx minus y minus 3 equals 0. And I want to find the slope. But that one thing I could do is write it in slope-intercept form. Y is equal to tx minus 3. So you can see the slope of that line. Let's call it m1. Has to be t. Okay? Or, you know, if I know it's just the negative of the x coordinate divided, the negative of the x coefficient divided by the y coefficient, negative t divided by negative 1 gives me positive t as well. If I look at the second line, x subtract 2y subtract 1 equals 0. I could put it in slope-intercept form, or I could just say, look, it's going to be the slope of this line is going to be the negative of the coefficient of x, which would be negative 1, divided by the coefficient of y, which is negative 2. So that's going to be positive a half. If I'm unsure about that, you should really be able to do that, but if you're not sure about it, just get it in slope-intercept form. Start by making 2y the subject of the equation. 2y will be equal to x subtract 1, and then divide on both sides by 2 to find y is equal to 1 half x subtract a half. So you can see the slope there is positive a half, y-intercept at negative a half. I want to apply my formula. We know that if theta is acute, then tan of theta is equal to the absolute value of this. Here we're given that theta is 45. So tan of 45 degrees is going to equal to the absolute value of m1 minus m2, well that's t subtract a half, all over 1 plus m1 m2, that's 1 plus t times a half, which will be t over 2. Okay. A couple of things in here. One thing I know, tan of 45, we should know that. That's a special angle. You should really know that tan of 45 at this stage is equal to 1. If you don't, you can use your calculator. The other thing, I don't really like these complex fractions, so I've got fractions within fractions. So I'm going to just get rid of all the fractions in this big fraction here. So if I multiply it by 2 over 2, the multiplication by 2 on the top will cancel out the division by 2, and it'll do the same on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by 2 over 2 to get 2t minus 1 over 2 plus t. Okay, that's the absolute value. Alright, so we're going to find two possible values for t here. This is where the absolute value brackets come in. So I'm going to try to solve this. Actually, I might just squeeze this in over here. You'll keep working down the page, of course. If the absolute value of a number is 1, well, that number, 2t minus 1 over 2 plus t, could equal to plus or minus. Multiplying by 2 plus t on both sides, we get 2t minus 1 could equal to plus or minus 2 plus t times 1, that's 2 plus t. So I'm going to have two equations here, and I'm going to solve for each of them. So I'm going to break my page up into two separate things. Dealing with the plus first, we'd get 2t minus 1 is equal to 2 plus t, and then subtracting t on both sides and adding 1 on both sides would give me t is equal to 3. Applying the negative here, we'd get 2t minus 1 is equal to negative of 2 plus t, will be negative 2, subtract t. Adding t on both sides will give me 3t. Adding on 1 on both sides will give me negative 1. Dividing on both sides by t, by 3 I should say, will give me t is negative 1/3. So the two possible values for t here are t equals 3 and t equals negative 1/3. So 3x minus y minus 3 equals 0 will intersect the line K at 45 degrees, but so will the line negative 1/3 x subtract y minus 3 equals 0. And if you think about this, that slope of a line and that slope of a line, well, they're negative reciprocals of each other. So a line with 3x as its x term will be perpendicular to a line with negative 1/3 x as its x term. Okay, in this case. So t is equal to 3 or t is equal to negative 1/3. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. Get used to the formula. Notice sometimes you'll be given the angle and asked to find the slope. Sometimes you'll be given a slope and asked to find the angle. You've got to be able to work with both. It's just practice. Give it a go.